Podcast Studios. This is After 9 with Scott and Kat.
Hey now!
Hello, friends.
What's going on, Kat?
Oh, you know, life's busy right now. Life's super. I don't know if anyone else had this, but like September hits and it's like everything's happening. Here you go. Here's all the things and all the busyness. But hey, it's good. Keeping busy is good.
I'm amazed at the amount of people that are trying to make plans right now for the holidays. It's not till December, and people are asking, well, whose house are we going to on the Sunday and the Monday? I don't know. Why are you asking me now? It's not even fall until Sunday.
Can I just say, though, I don't mind. Like, if you want to tell me now that you want to book me in, if you will, and we all book each other in, right, around that time, that really is what it is. If you're going to have a Christmas party and you already know the date, tell me it. I'll book it in. I already have my girls' Christmas get-together booked.
Oh, yeah?
It's in the calendar.
Already, eh?
Already.
Good for you. I mean, hey, maybe there's something to planning in advance. I always find flying by the seat of my pants works great, but you do you. Hey, last night, the Michelin Guide announced their 2024 Michelin star restaurants, not just for Toronto. They've finally acknowledged that Toronto isn't just Toronto, it's the GTHA. So you ready to hear who got a star?
Yes, I am.
Hexagon in Oakville now has a Michelin star.
Okay, whereabouts is that in Oakville?
Downtown area.
Hexagon.
Okay. It's a fabulous
I
restaurant.
feel like I've heard of it.
You probably have been there.
I might have been there.
It's a great restaurant. I can't do a full review because I had a lot of martinis that night. But I remember the food being good. I remember the when I was there. It was just my experience one time, but I didn't think the service was all that great. But they award this based on the cuisine and the atmosphere. So Hexagon in Oakville is now a Michelin star restaurant.
Wow.
As is Père Morissette in Jordan Station, Niagara area.
In the station?
Père Morissette. It's in Jordan Station. That's Niagara area. It's like Niagara on the Lake.
Okay, got it. Sorry, I thought you meant it was like at a GO station. I'm
No,
like, that
no,
is
no, no,
weird.
no.
Okay,
No,
good.
So I have to get there. I haven't been there, but now I'm interested.
All right.
The Pine in Creemore, Ontario, and Danico in Toronto. Danico's a new one for me. I admit I'd never even heard of it until they found out they got a Michelin star.
All right.
Sushi Masaki Sato on Avenue Road in Toronto, another Michelin acknowledgement.
And another sushi joint, by the way, because the first star we ever got was a sushi place, was it not? Top Honor? I believe it was a sushi restaurant.
Yeah. There's some people who feel passionately sushi restaurants should not get Michelin stars because it's raw. You didn't actually cook anything. But in that case, they even go down to like the chef's knife techniques when he's slicing the sushi and stuff.
Yes, the presentation, the technique. Has anyone tried to make sushi? It's like I do it and it's awful. It's like a kindergarten art project. It looks awful.
Yeah. Other restaurants that have a Michelin star are Don Alfonso, 1890, Harbor Square, Capo Sato on Mount Pleasant Road, Osteria Julia on Avenue Road, Restaurant 20 Victoria. That's at 20 Victoria Street, I assume. And yeah, we told you about the new one, so that's good. The White Lily Diner on Queen Street East was also honored with a Green Star, which honors establishments that are pioneers in sustainable gastronomy.
Oh. Whatever that means.
Every time they serve a broccoli, they plant a new broccoli. Is that how that works, or what goes on there?
I don't know.
In any case, I think it's great whenever a restaurant around here gets these honors and accomplishments. These Michelin stars are basically like winning an Academy Award if you're a chef or restaurateur, and it always gives me some good ideas when I want to go out for dinner too. So there you go. Look it up if you're interested. Michelin stars for 2024, and it's not just in Toronto. They also did the GTA. And I have to think that if they're going to expand that out beyond just Toronto, it's only a matter of time until places like Langdon Hall and places like that get their Michelin stars. It's got to be coming.
Yeah, I would think so, but that's good. This is a good start.
I want to take you to yesterday, where the U.S. Federal Reserve made a very big announcement that is probably going to have an impact on us here in Canada. Listen to yesterday.
Or do you see risk that further labor market cooling will have to come through job losses?
So on the job creation, it depends on the inflows, right? So if you're having millions of people come into the labor force, and you're creating 100,000 jobs, you're going to see unemployment go up. So it really depends on what's the trend underlying the volatility of people coming into the country. We understand there's been quite an influx across the borders, and that has actually been one of the things that's allowed unemployment rate to rise. And the other thing is just the slower hiring rate, which is something we also watch carefully. So it does depend on what's happening on the supply side.
Yesterday, the U.S. Federal Reserve dropped interest rates, their central bank. They dropped interest rates by 0.5 point. That's a trigger that Tiff Macklem here, that son of a bitch, has not pulled in Canada, even though economists have been telling him you got to cut more aggressively. You're going to have to do 0.5 point cuts. You may even have to do full point cuts. And the reason here is the same as in America. You just heard them say they've got a lot of people coming into their country, and that's bringing up the unemployment rate. You can't have the unemployment rate high and expect the economy to be good. So they're trying to head off, I think, what could be a catastrophe. Because you've been hearing them talk about things like a soft landing for years now, since they started raising our interest rates so high. And they've been able to say with a straight face, oh, it'll be a soft landing, no recession. Now I feel like they're petrified that there's going to be a recession, especially when they're bringing up unemployment numbers and linking that to a drop in interest rates. They know something bad is coming, and the gig might be up.
Could there be a full point drop next month?
I think so.
You think it could happen?
I don't know that Tiff is going to do that because he's just not a smart person, right? Like, I don't know that he fully understands the economy outside of the ivory towers of Bay Street. There's regular people that live in subdivisions and are listening to this pod right now that are really suffering, and he's never been able to wrap his mind around that.
Right.
So and he's also said too, he doesn't care. He said, that's somebody else's problem, not me. I'm only in charge of inflation. So when he raised these rates and made everybody broke, I don't know that he sees the urgency to cut these interest rates as quickly as he raised them, but he's got to do it because even the U.S. Fed is talking about possible recession if they don't cut rates aggressively. So there's a lot of reason to think interest rate cuts are coming, probably big ones. I heard one economist yesterday say by next summer, interest rates will be half of what they are right now.
Yeah. A lot of the people who predict these things believe that. Mortgage brokers are, most of them anyway, I should say, are warning people if you have to renew soon, don't jump into any fixed anything yet. Of course, listen to your own mortgage broker or yourself if you don't have a mortgage broker, I suppose, but I would probably suggest you get one that's good.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of them are saying just that.
I want to take you back to a news conference that was done yesterday. Our federal immigration minister came out to announce some changes. They're again cutting the number of international students that'll be allowed to come to Canada. They're going to they said they slashed it this year. They're going to slash it next year and then again the year after that. They say they're saying this now so that the universities and colleges can make plans, because right now there's some universities and colleges that are using the international students basically like a glorified piggy bank. They let these kids in and they take their money, and they don't really care if they have a place to live or if they enjoy their campus life. And it's really sad the way some are being treated by some of these post-secondary institutions. A question came up, though, during that news conference that I want to play for you. It has to do with the birth rate, the amount of Canadians that are not having children. It's a really interesting conversation that I think we should probably as a country have. This is something that Elon Musk has been trying to raise the red flag about for a while now, the low birth rate. So how does it translate in Canada? Here is our immigration minister yesterday talking about that.
Canada's internal birth rate is at record lows. If we're slowing down immigration, is there a plan to find other ways to keep the population stable in the long run?
I mean, asking me to tell people to have babies, that's way out of my comfort zone. But I think the reality is we all face, as countries in our position, challenges with birth rates. That is part of the reason why we need immigration, and we are facing sort of generational challenges as opposed to electoral challenges. When as the Minister of Immigration, that is sometimes the top issue in my head. Even were we to have a baby boom today, it would take 20-some years to make these young babies productive members of the economy, which is probably the last way you look at them when you have birth. It's a beautiful event, but that's reality. So we would still need immigrants regardless, even if we had a massive baby boom for the next 20 years. We will need that. I think as I announced the levels plan in the 1st of November, that is a question that we need to address. The measures that we take are ones that are very important. This is a country built on immigration, but it's also one that needs to take into account a number of factors that Canadians have told us to take into account. I did a strategic review in my department over a year ago. These are things that came up repeatedly, and they're increasingly coming up in the public discourse. So the reality is that we have a particular view on immigration. We do have a responsibility to get it right, getting the number right, to make sure.
So far, they've got it nothing but wrong. But take the immigration side out of it. Why are we having such a low birth rate? Why are so few people having children? You know, this is something that way back in like the 70s and 80s, I remember us having conversations about it. And back then it wasn't a huge concern because a lot of people were having babies. A lot less are doing that now.
Yeah.
And we're going to lead to a population collapse without immigration unless people start getting in the bedroom.
Okay.
Or the couch or wherever you do it. I don't give a shit what you do.
Whatever. Okay, let's clarify something before I continue on, because I have thoughts on this for sure. Because I understand where the people are coming from that don't want to have kids. I get it. Have you looked around this earth? Have you looked around the world that we're living in today? A lot of people look at it. The friends that I have that have chosen not to have babies, okay, and that's important. That's an important distinction between choosing not to have kids and not able to have kids, okay? So let's make that clear. We're not speaking to the people who are trying and can't. If they're choosing not to have kids, when I ask the people that I know that have chosen this, their reasoning is typically, I don't want to bring anyone into this world. So what can we do to fix that would be one of the answers I have. But this is kind of a two-part thing, because my question to you would be, this is economy-based, right? Because I remember hearing about we should have less babies for the environment. And I remember when that thought process, and I'm not saying that's correct, I'm just saying that I remember when I was a child, people worried about too many people on the planet because we are destroying the planet. Is that something that maybe gone into people's heads? That I can't have kids because we're destroying this planet and we're going to just continue to, as humans, destroy this planet and ecosystem, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't want to do my part to add to that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that having kids is a personal decision for anybody. And I think that the decision to have kids is one that should be made deliberately and thoughtfully, because some people, a little willy-nilly, get a little careless and then they end up with a whole litter of kids that they didn't want.
Or can't take care of.
Or can't take care of, exactly. And then there's some people who want kids but can't have them, and we really should try and mix this up a little bit and match the appropriate scenario to the right people. I don't know that I would be so cynical about the world that I would say, no, I'm not going to have kids. I almost feel, on some level, like it's almost an obligation for us to reproduce. And I get it if some people don't want to participate in that for whatever reason. That's a personal choice of yours. But it doesn't change the fact that we're expected to, as humans, reproduce, raise our offspring, and then prepare them to go out into the world on their own. And then they do the same thing. But it's somewhere along the line, it went from every family has 5 or 6 kids to every family has 2 or 3 kids. To every family has 1 or 2, and now it seems like if you have kids, 2 max, but average is 1. And that could be part of the thing too. I'm wondering if it is economics. I'm wondering if people say, you know what, I'd love to have a kid, but I can barely afford my rent right now, and it's not fair to bring this kid into the world right now.
And that's a huge point. It's so true. I always, by the way, to go back to what I mentioned about people looking around and going, I don't want to bring anything into this. I remember having that conversation before I had kids with someone. It was someone much wiser than I at the time anyway, that said, if you don't bring in good people, and you know you're going to, right? You know if you're a good person, you're going to raise a good person. That tends to be the case, right?
I think so, yeah.
So if we don't bring in good people, how does it change? And that was like kind of moment for me anyway. So if you're on that path of like, I don't want to bring anyone in here, and you're still considering it, but you're not sure, that is a good point to make too. We're not going to be able to make positive changes if we don't have good people being brought into the world. But I'm with you. I understand it is a personal choice, and my goodness, no one should be forced into feeling they have to have kids. There's people who did have kids and regret having kids, not to mention. So the other thing I was going to mention, because I have a lot of thoughts on this, Elon Musk. When it comes to Elon Musk, and he is that person, and he has multiple children now with a couple different people.
He's doing his part.
But when he says that, I think it's difficult for people to swallow. Because in their mind, they think he's a business guy. Of course, he wants more people on the planet to help his business out. He wants more people to buy his products. But I truly don't think when it comes to Elon Musk, and you might hate him for a bunch of different things, I don't think he's thinking that way in this particular case. The people who do have this money and power can see a little bit more into the future than the rest of us. That just comes with money and power. So I think it's hard for some people to hear when you hear it from a powerful, very, very rich person. It makes you feel like, yeah, well, F you. Are you going to pay these bills? Are you going to bring my kids to daycare? Are you going to do XYZ and fill my fridge and all those other things? It does come from a place of looking farther into the future than just how am I going to pay the bills for the next little while. But yeah, by all means, I mean, it is a personal choice. I'm seeing it more and more. I think I have one friend that has 3 kids, and that's the max that I know of.
Yeah, I've got 2, and I couldn't imagine not being a dad. It gave me a purpose and to think of something greater than myself. And I love being a dad. Could it be anything to do with the breakdown of the nuclear family? And it's been eroding for a long time for whatever reason. People are also getting married a lot later in life. It was much easier to have kids when everybody got married, when they graduated from high school. If they went to university, it would be after that. But either way, most people were married by 25, and a large portion of them by 20. That left a lot of childbearing years for people to conceive. Whereas weddings now tend to happen in the early 30s is probably the average at this point, based on what I'm seeing out there and the invites I get. I don't know if maybe that cuts into it as well. People not staying together, marriages breaking down. We have a divorce rate of almost 50%. And I wonder if that plays a role into it too. What's Canada going to look like in 20 years? I mean, you heard the immigration minister say it. Even if we had a baby boom now, it wouldn't pay off for 20 years. Is there something to be said for maybe government could sweeten the pot a little bit? They've already introduced the $10 a day childcare. In 20 years, that'll probably be working.
Let's hope that they can manage to fix whatever's broken in it, because there's some broken stuff.
Kat, honest to God, off topic, but the amount of programs that get announced that never go anywhere, or it takes years to get them going. Whenever the government comes out and says something like, we're bringing in $10 a day childcare, and people get excited and they get hope, and they're like, oh, great, I'm paying like $1,000 a week for childcare. That'll be great. It'll save me a ton of money. And then it takes 3-4 years to implement it. It's so frustrating, and it just makes people lose faith in government. They got to get better at doing these things. But anyway, back to the original topic. We have $10 a day childcare. We've got very, very good maternity leave and things like that for people who do have a baby.
We have way better than a lot of other countries. Way better.
Certainly we could do better, but we are leading
We're better.
Many countries.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, we also allow parental leave where you can even split it up. If the mom there is having the baby, but maybe mom's the breadwinner in that household and she wants to go back to work. She doesn't want to be at home. It's perfectly acceptable in 2024 for dad to take that parental leave and enjoy the time at home with the kid.
We overlapped, my husband and I, too. At one point, we were off for 2 months together. It was great.
Really?
Yeah.
You actually liked it?
I loved it.
You probably split up a lot of the responsibility.
I loved it. Oh, it was great.
So, I mean, the government has certainly done some things to create the environment where we could be having more babies, but people still aren't having babies. Some countries go as far as government bonuses. I think it was South Korea. They're real worried about their birth rate over there because it is so low, and there's a possibility that that's South Korean culture and it could be eroded completely if they don't start having babies to preserve their culture and their history and so on. The government's paying people to have babies. Hey, have a baby. You get this much monthly. You're going to get an upfront when the baby's born check for $10,000 to cover all the startup expenses. We'll support you until the baby's older, and boom, Bob's your uncle. If the government came in and said, listen, we have for years now been really trying to encourage women to go into the workforce, and we still want to do that, but we need some of y'all to have some kids. So we're going to sweeten the pot a little bit, and we're going to drop $10,000 on the table. Day the baby's born, you get your check, or we pay it out $1,000 a month for a year. Plus, you're going to get your monthly baby bonus. Plus, you're going to get your credits for this and that. Plus, you got $10 a day childcare. Do you think money would make people have more babies?
Devil's advocate here. There's way too many people taking money from the system and not giving it to their kids as it is. I worry about the people that shouldn't be having kids, that are not having kids for the right reason. When they hear they can be cut a check from the government for $10,000, neglect their children and buy God knows what with it. And I know that might be a smaller population than those who would do the right thing. But that thought scares me. I actually don't like that for here. I think there's too many low-life people that would be like, oh, I guess I'll get knocked up because I could use the money. There's people doing all kinds of shit out there, Scott, for money.
For $10,000, I might knock up my girlfriend.
Do you know what I'm saying?
And
though?
I'd be a great parent.
And you're not desperate.
No.
There's people out there that are desperate or addicts or you name it. So I know I'm being negative on that, but that's where I draw the line because I see it. I have people who work in social work that work with people who neglect their children. They are taking paychecks from the government and not even using it towards their kids. It's a sad circumstance, and I think that would just make the problem worse, to be honest with you.
Yeah, there's no simple solution here, but this is a conversation that I feel like our government should have. How many times have we said on the pod, they spend so much time focused on nonsense, namely their own self-preservation or their own interests? Why aren't we having a national conversation about the birth rate? Why aren't we having a national conversation about stuff that matters to people? A simple example, nothing like childbirth, but why can't we have a House of Commons debate on holding Halloween on the final Saturday of October instead of October 31st? You know, simple things like that.
Daylight savings time.
Daylight savings is another one. We're going to be going through that bullshit again in a few weeks. Why aren't we having conversations about that? It seems like everything the government thinks is important, it's important, but it's not really that relevant or something that everyone can participate in when it comes to the conversation. I think we should change that.
Where are we at? Like our healthcare is like there's all kinds of things that we can do to improve that people continue to bring up and they make good points and valid points, but the government seems quite slow on.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, an update on government, because I get asked all the time about this. Are we going to have a fall election? I mean, I would have said no, absolutely not a few weeks ago. Then there was a little bit of hope there because Pierre Poilievre was introducing the motion of non-confidence, and he's going to introduce it on Tuesday. But now the Bloc Québécois has already come out and said, nope, we're not going to vote for it. They say they don't have confidence in Trudeau, but they're still not going to vote for it because they think they can do what the NDP did for the last 2 years. And if they're the ones who can keep the Liberals in power and get something for Quebec out of it, then they're going to keep them in power. Now, this one is very different from the NDP. The Bloc Québécois only got votes in one province in the last election. It's not like the NDP who's got candidates that's got MPs in many different provinces. The Bloc only cares about one province, and it's also the one that is perpetually unhappy and threatening to leave.
Always.
I almost think that Trudeau would gain some favor with the rest of the public if he said to Yves François Blanchet, the leader of the Bloc Québécois, hey, you know what? Thanks a lot, but I'm not making any deals with people that want to rip apart this country. So thanks for offering to keep me in power, but you're not going to get a thing in Quebec just because I want to stay in power. I don't think he's going to do that. I think he wants to stay in power, and the new thing seems to be Canadians don't want an election. Canadians don't want an election. That's the talking point. 70% of the country wants an election based on the polling. 70%.
Listen, it's not the act of the election we want. It's the change in leadership that people are asking for.
Right. And I think that Trudeau would go a long way if he would take a stand and tell those people, those separatists from the Bloc Québécois, again, thanks for the offer. We don't want your support that badly. If you want to vote confidence in us, great. But you're not going to get anything extra for Quebec for keeping us in power. That is my advice to Justin Trudeau, and I think it would go a long way.
Real quick update on Diddy from yesterday.
Yeah.
Because we mentioned it was going to happen, and it did. His lawyer was tried to appeal and tried to get him out, tried to get that bail working. Did you see all the things that they were offering to the judge? This lasted 2.5 hours, and they tried everything under the sun. Diddy offered to, we already knew, $50 million. We by the way learned it was more so the deed to his house, so it wasn't $50 million cash. That's concerning. Number 2, he offered to wear an ankle monitor, which we had already known initially. Fine. In his Miami mansion specifically. Miami's close to what?
The Caribbean.
Yes!
Bermuda.
Fucking flight risk. No female visitors. And a drug test daily. He offered all those things to the judge, and I'm so glad to tell you the judge denied that bail again. So it's not going to happen. You can't appeal it twice. And they already have that grand jury. I can't wait. I can't wait to find out more. But anyway, in case you were wondering what happened after that, there you go.
Where did all his money go? Diddy was at one point approaching billionaire status, and there's no reason to think he blew through all that money. He's still making royalties off music. He's still making money off of Sean John. He's still making royalties off of Ciroc. This guy's got a lot of money coming in. When they raided his house, and maybe somebody tipped him off that was going to happen too, I think that's when he realized, oh, the walls are closing in. I got to start hiding away my money so that it doesn't all get taken up by the courts when people inevitably start suing me.
Oh, for sure. I mean, most people do that when they have that much money.
He's probably gifted some of it to his kids, some of it to friends, whomever. There's no way. He should have $50 million to post bond.
I don't think it's not that he doesn't. He just didn't offer it. But that's a red flag also, because what are you going to use that cash you do have for if you do have cash? Which, again, I go back to flight risk, right? If the right money can get you to the right people to get you the heck out of there. So anyway, all those things were red flags to the judge. He was absolutely close to billionaire status. Well, he was closing in on it. It was like 2020, really, closer to. And then once Cassie came out with the statement that she came out with, and then we saw the video, especially, everything and everybody dropped the guy. So no more money was coming in. I don't know where we sit with streams and things like that. Did Spotify ban his music? They should.
I think they should. The problem with the Diddy and banning stuff is, and we actually had a conversation around some of our radio stations about this recently. What are we going to do with Diddy? Should we continue to play his music? The answer was no. But unfortunately, it's hard to just pull Diddy because we also don't want to punish people like Cassie and some of the other artists that were under the label and probably had nothing to do with any of this. In some cases, some of them were even victims. So it's a delicate balance. I don't know what Spotify is going to do there.
I don't know. I mean, this is one of those one-offs where I don't feel bad for any of the people that collaborated with him, just because they should know that that's the right thing to do. Don't put any more money in his estate or wherever it might go. He's in prison. It's not like he's going to use the money except for if he gets to use it in jail for like snacks and stuff. I don't even know if that works where he is.
I think you need to earn jail money. I think it's like Monopoly money where they'll give you like a $1 if you work for like 15 hours straight. And down there at the store, you can buy yourself a pack of gum.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Like a little convenience store. There's a name for it, and I forget. I used to watch Orange Is the New Black and know it. Anyway, when it comes to Diddy, though, I'm glad that he's staying where he belongs. I think that streamers should drop him. My opinion. I think the Hollywood Walk of Fame should scrub him. I think at this point there is enough evidence that we've seen here for a grand jury to be in place for this guy. Don't be the last person to drop him. It's a bad look.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I agree with you. I'm also wondering here, when it comes to Diddy, I don't think he's safe where he is. They put him in the jail that is known in New York as hell on earth. He's segregated for his own safety, and he gets 1 hour a day of exercise. Up at 6 a.m. every morning, he has to make his bed and mop his cell. Life changed. 3 days ago, he was sitting in Central Park. Now he's up at 6 a.m. mopping a jail floor.
Fun. Good for you, Diddy. Enjoy it, loser.
Why isn't there a parade of people lining up to disavow Diddy? You know, I was thinking about it, and he is one of the most connected people in the music industry. And in any other circumstance, if an artist falls from grace, another example on a much smaller scale. Morgan Wallen gets into a whole bunch of trouble. He drops the N-word and gets drunk in a bar in New York. They even canceled his appearance on SNL after that happened. And there was a parade of celebrities saying, oh, I don't approve of that. I'm not affiliated with him, blah, blah, blah. Why aren't people coming out that we know have strong connections to Diddy saying, hey, I had nothing to do with that. Don't lump me in with Diddy. I don't approve of what he did. I don't support what he did. And I hope he goes to jail. Where are all the celebrities for that? I just saw so many pictures of Diddy and various stars are popping up. Oprah appears in a ton of photos with Diddy.
Because rich people rock with rich people.
Why hasn't even Oprah stood up and said, I didn't know that was going on.
Yeah.
I was not involved. Why? What's going on, Oprah? Even Barack Obama has done multiple appearances with Diddy. Where's the disavowalment? Why isn't he coming out and hanging this guy out to dry?
And again, I know rich people, they rock with rich people, so I get it. I get that part. And it doesn't make you guilty by just because you've been associated. However,
certainly not.
I find how a lot of the names that are being brought up are also rumors for, again, going back to the Epstein thing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, man, I don't know if we'll ever know the full truth is the sad part. I really don't. But yeah, I'm with you. I hope that more come forward.
We'll blow through a couple of things here because we got to go. You do in particular, and I'm conscious of the time here. Should people at TSN be worried about their jobs?
I'm worried. I'm worried about what happened yesterday for them.
Rogers Communications and TSN, which is Bell Media, used to share partial ownership of MLSE. MLSE is Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, for those who don't know. They own the Maple Leafs, the Toronto Raptors, the Toronto Argos, the Toronto Marlies, Toronto FC. Rogers is buying out Bell's share of MLSE, 37.5%, for $4.7 billion. 35% is worth almost $5 billion. That's crazy.
That's a lot of dough.
But there's a lot of pro franchises there. I get it. I don't know why Rogers wants to own this outright. It's a big asset, but it's a massive expense and a lot of responsibility too.
Yep.
We know that Rogers has at least five sports networks. They've got TV channels, one network, Sportsnet. So they've got Sportsnet 1, Sportsnet Ontario, all that sort of nonsense. But Bell has got TSN, the sports network. And when they own part of the Leafs, Raptors, Argos, Marlies, and Toronto FC, it's real easy to say, okay, you know what? You guys go ahead and televise the October 1st Leaf game. We're going to televise the October 1st Raptors game. How's that going to work now? Because I assume Rogers isn't going to want to give their number one competitor access to big events like a Leaf playoff game or a Raptors playoff game.
I don't know how that's going to work out. But it does dawn on me that when it comes to Rogers, they're going to lose out. We were worried about them when WWE announcement was made.
Yeah.
Because that's a big chunk of their bread and butter as well.
They paid a lot of money for WWE.
They did, and they had a lot of viewers, and they made a lot of money because of WWE. They lose the rights January 1st. So for them, maybe this is their way to try to make things good before that makes them hit the fan. So I get it, but I also wonder, like, these companies don't pick a lane.
No.
You know, these companies don't pick a lane.
We're a phone company. No, we're a cable company.
Yeah,
we're a broadcaster.
Right?
We're your own sports properties.
You can get a phone. You can get whatever with them communication systems. You can have their TVs on, and then you can get the channels. And then there's the local stuff that they do. And then there's the sports stuff that they do. And then there's the multiple broadcast networks that they have. It's a lot of things. And by all means, it's not illegal to own all those things. So fine. But hopefully they manage to do it right.
The J.D. Power annual North American Airport Satisfaction Survey is out. Canada's busiest airport, second worst in North America. Pearson International Airport came in 20th out of 21 mega-sized airports. In case you're wondering, airports that did well. Number 1, the Minneapolis-St. Paul International Airport, ranked number 1 by travelers. I don't know what goes on at an airport in Minneapolis. Maybe people are happy because they're leaving Minneapolis or because there's not a lot of people there compared to, say, New York or LAX. So
it's got to be amenities.
It has to be, right?
For me, it's got to be amenities. It's got to be amenities. It's got to be parking. Maybe it's a cost thing. Maybe it's all those things intertwined. But for me, a good airport consists of easy to get to, easy for parking options, good destinations to fly out, good food and shopping options inside the actual airport. That's what makes it a good airport for me. So I feel like it's got to be scored high on all of those.
The Detroit airport came in second. It's a massive airport. If you've never flown out of Detroit, holy cow. That one and Atlanta. You can get lost even if you're a seasoned traveler. And I'm saying that because I am a seasoned traveler and I got lost at the Atlanta airport once. The worst airport, the only one worse than Pearson, New Jersey's Newark Liberty International Airport.
I've never been, but I've heard stuff. That's one of those ones that always gets brought up as being gross. Now, apparently we know. Yep, it is.
Apparently, several airports in Canada will soon be equipped with CT scanners in an effort to detect explosives. The Canadian Air Transport Security Authority says they plan to install the technology at airport checkpoints across Canada in the coming years. Wait, so we can't detect explosives now? Because that's what this is meant to do, is detect explosives. What are we detecting explosives with now?
I don't know. That's concerning. Secondly, is this the same CT that we see in like hospitals, or is this a different type of CT?
They say the technology provides a 360-degree view via computerized X-ray imaging. The project kicked off at the Vancouver airport yesterday, where the machines will sit above the conveyor belts in the security screening area.
Because we have people waiting months and months and months to get a CT scan. Are we actually putting the same thing in airports? I'd like to know. There's people who are literally going to suffer huge consequences because of our shitty healthcare system where we don't have enough CT. I'm hoping that's a different one is all I'm thinking.
Yeah, I would think it's slightly different
I would think so too, because we're talking about different things, or are we? Like, I don't know.
Those new airport scanners, the ones where you got to go in and put your hands above your head and it does the whole 360-degree scan. I get the feeling that these new scanners above the conveyor belt do a similar thing than what that does.
Got it. Yep.
That thing's invasive. That can see a lot of stuff. It can point at your
Get
pecker.
right in there. Yeah, I can get right in there. Absolutely. And then not to mention when you get out of there, like they'll still rub you with that little drug thing. I've been rubbed with that drug thing too many times.
What drugs does that test for? Because
Everything.
I assume at one point it was for cannabis, and now that thing's probably going off like nonstop.
Multiple drugs, and it could be the smallest amount of drug it'll find on your fingers or wherever they rub it. They'll find it.
We got to go, everybody. I'll just leave you with this. We get the releases from Ontario Lottery and Gaming, OLG. They always tell us who the winners are, where they are, and they want us, if it's in our area, to mention, hey, somebody locally here won the lottery. So I'll oblige them in this case because I want to make a point. Cambridge man won a max million. So he won $1 million in the August 9th Lotto Max draw. It's where he bought the ticket that I want to flag here. Little shortstop, Dundas Street in Cambridge. I've been watching these news releases go back and forth for about 5 years now. For some reason, little shortstop in Cambridge,
I've been there
Ontario.
a million times. That's the one by the roundabout, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been there a million times.
That place sells so many jackpot winning or major dollar amount tickets. I'd love to know what the hell's going on there. Why is that one store selling so many winners?
They track this information. So I feel like, maybe, you know what? Maybe that's a project for our amazing producer, Octavia, is to contact OLG and see if we can get like a spreadsheet of what gets won where. Because by all means, I think, by the way, just to add to this, I don't think it's any weird conspiracy at all. There's one place I go to get my lottery tickets occasionally. The girl behind the counter is so good at making me spend more than I wanted to when I walked in there. Oh, you're only getting a Lotto Max? You know, $6.49. Oh, you know, Ontario 49. I've never who buys Ontario 49? She convinced me to.
Boomers, baby boomers play the
Is that what it is?
49.
Well, I bought one because I was like, okay, what's that at? She's like, it's not bad and not a lot of people play. You know, you might have a good shot. So the sales pitch, I think, goes a long way. It's possible that at those certain locations, it's not a matter of quality of the ticket. It's a matter of quantity of purchases.
See,
right?
They say it doesn't matter about the quantity.
Yeah, it does.
It has
Bullshit, OLG. Bullshit.
They say whether you've got 10 tickets or one ticket, it doesn't increase your odds. And I don't see how that's possible.
No, but if 1 million people buy it from one location versus 5 buy it from the convenience store next door, you got a way better shot on this one. I'm just saying the amount of tickets that come out of that place is probably higher than the others. And the question is how, and also, you're doing a great job.
Yeah, absolutely. When Dave's here tomorrow?
Dave should be in tomorrow at the podcast. Yes, he's planning to be.
We got to talk about the time segment that we did this morning.
Oh my God, doing this with him is going to be hilarious. We should set people, because I don't know if he's going to listen to this.
I don't know if he will.
Okay,
either.
let's set the people up for this real quick.
There's a theory, and it's based on TikTok. A credible individual, though. What was it? The time lapse theory or something? Basically, our brains are programmed a certain way. And when COVID happened and none of us were out being social, many of us were locked down, some of us for months on end, really not having a whole lot of contact with the world. In a way, it screwed up our brains in that we can't conceptualize time the way we could pre-pandemic. In other words, if it seems like time is just flying by lately, you blink and, oh, wow, September's over. It's almost October. Where did September go? That's not you being crazy. It's something your brain's actually reacting to because time is it's something we don't even really understand. The time as we know it was created by people.
Yeah, and this is the thing that blows my mind. And we were having this conversation on our radio show today. But it blows my mind because it just took someone or a group of people to decide this is the calendar year. And sure, it could be based off Earth's rotation. We get that. But how many days are in a week and how many hours are actually in the day, all predetermined by someone else. But why are we running off that system? Is that really the best system for us? Is there a better system? How quickly are we actually going? Are some time years actually going and flying by faster than others? All these things we got into on the show, but it made us think of Dave. When you get into these conversations with Dave, I get into it, but he gets really into it. So if we bring this up tomorrow, I guarantee you, or I'd like to know, let's place bets, if he's going to mention what can our eyes really see.
Oh, he's so fixated on, he thinks our eyes are basically not fully evolved. And if we were fully evolved, we would see air. We would see people or aliens or something that aren't actually there. We can't see them, but they are there.
It's spirits and all those other things. Like our human eyeballs can't see them, but our evolution,
paranormal. Yeah.
Let's see if he goes there with it tomorrow when we talk about this. We're not going to set him up for it. We're only going to talk about this time, linear, what is time, the passing of time. And let's see what he brings up, because he loves talking about that stuff.
I hope he's not listening to this.
Me too.
Because
Dave, if you are.
He will drop a fucking edible before we do that segment tomorrow. And it'll be a 3-hour podcast as he explains what he means.
And it is an interesting topic for sure.
Have a great day, everybody. Enjoy Throwback Thursday on any of the Scott and Kat radio stations.
Bye, friends.
According to new research, sitting all day can cause dead butt syndrome. And you really want to diagnose that early, because once it dies, your butt starts to smell.
Authorities are looking for 2 people who allegedly got onto an empty subway train at a station in Queens, took it for a joyride, and then crashed it. Police say this may be the first ever case of someone experiencing joy on the subway.
Well, switching gears, I saw that a man in California just discovered that he's accidentally been paying his neighbor's power bill for 18 years. The guy was like, I didn't know. And his neighbor was like, yes, I also didn't know.